Hi, I'm Christy Scarrow. In this expert interview series, I'm talking to experts who help leaders to have an influence, gain commitment from their team, and make an impact. And today I'm talking to Kim Hamer. Did I say that right, Kim?
You most certainly did.
Wonderful. And Kim is a business leadership and visibility coach, showing leaders how to harness uncertainty, create more high-value opportunities by unlocking their greatest asset, themselves. So she is the founder, CEO of Artemis Futures International, creator of Building Brand New methodology, and passionate about inspiring and equipping people to build profitable, future-fit businesses to imagine and articulate the role both themselves and their people will play in achieving this. So welcome, Kim.
Thank you, Christy. Thank you so much for having me.
Good. Well, I'm glad you're here. So the first thing I'm curious about, because I've gone through this path of being in the corporate world and moving towards entrepreneurs, what for you were some of the big lessons in that?
Oh, wow. Yes. I think the first big lesson for me was to surround myself with not just like-minded people, but with entrepreneurs who had been successful doing what I wanted to do. So I was someone that was very well networked in corporate life, and all of a sudden I emerged as an entrepreneur, and it's a different mindset, and it really helps to surround yourself with people who, one, are going through what you're going through at about the same time, so you can share experiences, but also to be in the company of people who are maybe a little bit ahead of where you are, maybe 2 or 3 years. So they can act as a guide, but they also act as a way for you to prove to yourself that what you're doing is possible. You're just behind in terms of time with some of the people. That was a really big lesson for me. I think that the second lesson for me was defining my niche. So in corporate life, at heart, I'm a marketer, but I worked in strategy, in innovation, in marketing. I ran divisions. I did all sorts of things. So when I came out as an entrepreneur, I called myself a business coach, which is essentially a collaboration of all my experience. But people don't really understand what a business coach offers. There's not a definition, and no one walks around in life going, oh, I need a business coach, that sort of thing. So it took me about 6 months, and it was important for me to try stuff out. But I started playing around with the idea of building Brand You, which is the podcast I have, and a whole lot of other programs. And it was something I had to do when I left corporate. It was about not just a brand on the outside, but it was who am I really? What do I want to offer? How do I unlock that? And then how do I amplify it and tell the world that that's who I am and that's what I offer? And it wasn't till I got into building Brand You and visibility and knowing that I could share my experiences of that I sort of went, that's the thing I'm meant to do, and that drives my passion. So that's two things: surround yourself with the right kinds of people, and the second thing is to play around but find your niche, find your lane.
Yeah, I like how you said that, sort of the right kind of people, and even moving a bit away from like-minded, because it's something I think sometimes if we surround ourselves with people that are too much like us, we're not sort of learning and expanding. But if you find those people who are, I like how you said, that are a few steps ahead, you know where you're going. And I think it's really easy to get pulled in directions that don't feel like the right fit, because there's so many gurus out there that says, do this and do that. So I think that's a bit of a challenge. I like how you said that.
I think that focus, I think, is a challenge in that first year, because it's almost like you don't really know any better, and things that sound like a good idea, if you haven't found your lane, for example, or have the right kind of circle around you, it is really easy to be stretched really thin and not to focus on, say, the 2 or 3 things in the first year that you're going to achieve. So even now, I'm 3 years in, and I pick 2 or 3 things in the year, the big things that my business is going to deliver, and I just focus on those, and that's it. And I try very hard not to get pulled off into other shiny objects.
Yeah, that's a struggle for me, and I think it is a lot for entrepreneurs, because we tend to be idea people, and you're like, oh, well, how about this? Well, how about this? And to stay focused, do you have any, things that work really well for yourself when you do get distracted, or that you can suggest to business owners to think about or consider?
Oh wow, yeah, that's a huge question,
I
Christy.
know. You can solve that. That would be wonderful. Thanks,
Okay,
Kim.
great. I'll bottle it. So I think that the thing, there's a couple of things that really work for me. So from a big picture point of view, I do something called a sort of a strategy map for the business every year, and that's where those big three things are on that map. But what's underneath them are some of the things I will need to do or be to bring those to fruition. Now, that doesn't just go into a desk drawer. I'm just going to reach over here, excuse me. So the other piece of the puzzle is a weekly planner, which I'll talk about in a minute. But my priorities sit on the back of it. So
you went
every
blurry
week,
there, Kim. You went blurry.
Oh, sorry.
Unfortunately, there you go. Okay, sort of.
Yeah. So I have the priority plan for my 3, 6, 9, 12 months.
Okay.
And every week, for just 30 minutes on a Sunday night or Monday morning, I do a weekly plan. It's sort of linked to an interim 30, 60, 90 plan. But what it does is nothing's in the drawer. So I take the weekly plan off. My plan for the year is behind it. So having all of those things together really keeps me aligned. And I found the weekly one is the gold. The weekly one is the gold, because looking ahead to the week and saying, I've got either all this time or not enough time, and really choosing what you will spend your time on is one of the most powerful things I think I've done for myself, particularly as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I think that's for me one of the big shifts from corporate to entrepreneur, because there's no one looking over you in the same way to say, do this, do that. You are making those choices. And I know that's been something I've had to really be focused on myself. And I think is probably a struggle for a lot of business leaders who've made that shift. So I know another key area of your business is about visibility. And I love the point you said on your website, which is visibility is so much more than being seen. So tell me, what do you mean by that? What does that look like?
Yeah, so one of the principles behind building Brand You is it's about actually who you are and who you're being, not just a brand that's somewhere out there. And that's where we get sort of our most authentic brand or leadership or reputation from. I work with a lot of individuals who are either leaders or aspiring to be leaders, but the key to it is actually unlocking who you are. The first part of that is bringing it out to be visible, like in the world, however that is, whether you're promoting on social media or standing up in front of your teams at work, sitting in and speaking at the PTA, stuff like that. But visibility, it's not just about being seen. There's a course I actually run. We're just launching it at the moment, and it's called Vice. And there are 4 levers to how we show up. So if we think of visibility as how we are actually showing up in the world and to other people. So V is for visibility. I is for influence. And that is, will people follow us? Do they trust us? Credibility is the C, and credibility is about what are you known for? And that's a really key thing. We forget that our credibility is not just our expertise. It's actually what comes to mind when someone first says your name. So if someone says Kim, if they say organized, that's actually part of my credibility. If they say she's a nightmare, that's part of my brand too. So, it's the top of mindedness with credibility. And the E is for empathy. And normally we think about empathy as standing in someone else's shoes. With building Brand You, we take it a step further and say empathy is about making connections and building bridges. So it's about standing on either side of the river, looking at each other and saying, okay, how are we going to meet in the middle? How are we going to build a bridge together and create that connection or that commonality that allows us to meet in the middle and make a connection? So that's Vice, V-I-C-E. And that's one of the core principles I work with a lot of clients and leaders on when they're thinking about how they're going to show up.
Yeah, I love the E. You surprised me with empathy. because, I was certainly, it's going to be expertise, it's going to be experience. And the concept of empathy, I think, is really important if you're trying to build influence and trying to be credible as a business owner. If you don't recognize the position of your ideal client, the people you work with, you're missing, I think, a big opportunity. So I love that component. I think that is really important. And then the other thing, I know we talked about, obviously, helping leaders in corporate as well as business owners. It's in kind of inspiring your teams or others to kind of come along the same path. What are your thoughts on that, on some of the things to think about when leaders are struggling with that?
So one of the first places is think about how you're showing up. And one of the biggest challenges my clients often face is when I say to them, I want you to go and ask people what the top 5 words are when they think of you. Sometimes that can be really challenging for both the leader to hear, but also the team member to articulate or want to articulate. So sometimes doing this as an anonymous thing, put all the things in the bucket and that sort of thing, because often there's a disconnect between how we see ourselves, how we think we're coming across, and actually how we're landing. So I think that's the first thing. The second thing is that one of the things that I have always worked on is creating space within my team. So creating space for the team to come forward. So it's not always about me pushing, it's about inviting the team in and having conversations where they contribute or they share where they are. With some, it's easier than others. I have a virtual team at the moment. I have 3 people in my team that I've been working with for 6 months. And one of the things I think about with every meeting is, how am I making space for them to step forward and help me? Because the whole idea of having a team is to have people do the things that, well, either you don't want to do, or you shouldn't be doing. You should be investing your time in the things that you're specialist at. But often what we do is try and tell our team to do it in the same way that we do, and we give them no space to actually flourish and then deliver for us. So I think that's something I really focus on, that I think is probably quite different from a lot of other perhaps entrepreneurs or leaders.
It's something I think not everybody thinks about, right? And you just like, how do I get them to do what I want? And it's often a really hard transition from just kind of feeling like it's your business and you need to have people just to do what you say, versus allowing them to want to help you, to take ownership for helping you. Are there any kind of cues or phrases you use that demonstrate that you're encouraging, you're allowing for that space?
Yeah. When they ask a question, don't answer it. Say, well, what do you think? Tell me where you're at with it. Let them talk. Don't be in a hurry to give them the answer. And I know, as an impatient, recovering perfectionist type of person, it can be really difficult, because you just want to go, oh, it'd be so much easier if I just gave them the answer and they go off and they do it and we'd all be happy. But what that doesn't do is position them to really serve you in the long term. And it doesn't serve them either. With building brand new, it's not only about my clients, it's about my team, it's about everybody I come into contact with. I want everybody to be able to bring themselves to their work, and that includes my team. And if there's no space, they won't bring themselves, nor will they have they take the opportunity to learn. And to be quite frank, I learn from them every day. So
yeah, which is a benefit sometimes I don't think we think about. There's the time piece, which is, it's going to take me longer to explain it or to let you come to it on your own, or I feel like you're not going to do it the way I want, which I think are things that leaders, get into that headspace. But if you can get good at it, like you said, it does, you learn. You're like, well, that's something I didn't think about. If you can really be open to it, there's probably a lot of new perspectives that you haven't considered. So yeah. I think that is really important. And it's a good reminder that, if you take the time and have the patience, your business will benefit from it.
Yeah. And I think you'll learn more about the people you're with. There's I love the richness in my relationship with my team. They're stepping forward and saying, oh, I'd really like to have a go. One of them said, I really want to have a go at doing all the audio editing for your podcast. I've watched you over the last 6 months and I'd really like to have a go at it. So they start to step forward with solutions. I'd love someone to take on the audio editing for my podcast, quite frankly. So there's that. The other thing I think is it's noticing that we tend to give the answer as soon as the question's asked. So it's about pausing. It's about stopping that automatic habit and creating that dependency on you for the answer and starting to ask them questions. Well, where do you think? Tell me where you've gotten to with that. And then maybe we can find the answer to the question together.
Yeah, even if the answer seems so obvious to you, you're right. It's like, no, I'm not going to answer it, even if I can quickly make this happen. So, and I think, I'm very passionate as well about how do you create ownership. And then, as you said, it's much easier if someone says, hey, I'd like to do this, versus you saying, hey, do you want to do my audio? And people going, okay. And they haven't come up with the idea themselves. It's very easy now for you to get them, take them along on the areas that they want to focus on, but it's also a benefit to you. So
yeah, absolutely.
that's wonderful. So the one thing I know for sure in the description, I'm going to put the link to an audit that you have that you think will be useful. Tell me a little bit about what that audit does.
Okay, so the audit offers you the opportunity to just reflect on 3 key questions. And I'm not going to tell you what they are because you won't take the audit. No spoilers here, Christy.
Okay.
So what it is, it's actually a precursor to the VICE course, the VICE program we're going to launch. And it just asks some questions about, are you, to paraphrase, are you getting the things you need to get where you want to go, and things like that. So at the moment, you can just take the audit, have a look at the questions, and then if you want to sign up for updates, we can let you know when the course is live. And we're putting together a whole lot of material that we'll start to put out to a mailing list on building brand you and on visibility and VICE and that sort of thing. So yes, that would be great. Please take the audit, see what shows up for you, how you show up to yourself. We take.
Well, you've intrigued me. I'm definitely going to go take it myself and see where it lands me. And I definitely encourage people to check it out as well. Anything else that I didn't ask you about that you think is important to share with leaders and business owners?
I think it's more something to reiterate, and that is when we think of visibility and leadership, one of the most important ingredients is understanding how you show up. So there's showing up for yourself, and when you look in the mirror, do you respect, perhaps admire, like that person? But there's also the biggest piece of it is how you show up for others. You do not, your brand or a brand does not exist within you. Your brand exists in the world of others. So getting a self-awareness and an understanding of how you're showing up for others. So me being really blunt, with some people really works. They love that. With other people, they think I'm being rude. I show up differently. And it's that awareness of how we show up for others that will really empower your connections, your brand, and the opportunities that come to you.
And then, I think that you mentioned it, that if you don't ask people how they perceive you, you won't understand it. And I think that's very scary for some, because they don't want to open a can of worms. They feel nervous about what they're going to hear. Maybe they already think they know what the answers are going to be. So I do think that's a wonderful exercise for people to think about. And then, because I just quickly want to know your thoughts, if people answer, if you get a response back, and someone says, I think you're too direct or too rude. Another person says, I love your directness. How do you respond to that then? Do you change your behavior when you're dealing with that individual?
A little bit. So I'm a classic example because I am a Dutch Australian who, if you know Dutch people and you know Australian people, super direct, like no fluffiness. And then I came to the UK where everything's very polite and wordy and things like that.
And
18 years ago, I created a lot of chaos, mess, offense, maybe even, that I had to go and clean up, because these were people I had to have a good working relationship with, and it wasn't any good saying that's just how I am. Saying that, I'm still known for being direct, but I've worked out a way to have it land, to have it heard. And I think part of it is also being really aware and creating the space between you and the other person. Remember, I talked about empathy. It's about building the bridge together. It's not just about me going blah. It's about both of us, like we are today, exploring, coming together and going, oh, maybe there's some commonality here. Maybe there's something interesting here. Very different people, but what can we do together? And that's sort of the from creating all that chaos and offense and having to clean it up, which was not fun. I learned to mellow, but not lose what I loved about that directness.
Yeah, I've been in that exact spot in my move to the UK. I got a lot of kind of reactions to my approach, and then I calmed it back until I came back to Canada, and then I almost got I started to react to everybody else. It was very interesting transition. So thank you so much, Kim, for sharing such amazing insights. Make sure you check out some of the links in the bottom so you can find Kim and find some of the wonderful stuff she has to offer. So thank you again for being here, and stay tuned for our next episode.